Now let's look at some of the early signs that you might be pregnant. Now the first one is spotting. Now spotting can happen in two ways. I think we covered that in our previous video, but spotting when you're pregnant can happen in two instances. The first one is in between your cycle and slightly after your ovulation. Now, I'm going to explain why this spotting will happen. Now, the second instance is instead of getting your menses, you just spot and then you move on. The reason why you usually get this spotting is after fertilization, you'll form what you call zygote. It will start dividing and then it will start moving all the way to the uterine wall where it will burrow. This is where it's supposed to attach. Now, the wall is already ready for this attachment, for the growth. It will support the growth of this egg into a fetus. Now, what happens is during the implantation, it will burrow into that wall for attachment. Now, it's going to dislodge some of that blood off that wall, because this is the same blood that usually come out when you're getting your menses. So it's going to dislodge some of that, and this is what you're going to get when you're getting that spotting. So you're going to get some tiny amount of blood going to your pants, and this is what we call spotting. So the reason might be because you have implantation that's already taking place. The second one is bloating, constipation, and also having gas, maybe passing out gas. Now, mostly this usually happens because of the hormones. They usually slow down the bowel movement, and this will come with all what we've mentioned above. Number 3, headache. When you become pregnant, your body will tend to increase the blood volume, and this blood volume will create changes when it comes to your blood pressure, and this is very problematic when it comes to your head. Before it adjusts, you're going to have those frequent headaches. They usually come and go. They come and go. Number 4, this is feeling exhausted. You see, you have a high demand in your body because there is something that's going to start developing. Also, your body is trying to realign everything to accommodate the new life that's going to grow in the uterus. And also, there's a high demand for almost everything, and you have hormones that are take for example the progesterone, which is supposed to sustain the pregnancy. Everything will culminate into you feeling very exhausted. Number 5, this is tender breast, and also you might feel pain when you squeeze them, and this is your body trying to get ready for the unborn. It's getting ready literally. Number 6, you might start becoming moody and also easily irritable. This is because of the hormones. They usually have that effect, and that's why mostly ladies usually have what we call mood swings, most of the time because of their hormones. Number 7, frequent urination. Like we mentioned, your body will trigger or will increase the amount of blood that you have, and this will make your kidneys to overwork to try to maintain a good volume of blood by removing as much water as possible. So that's why you'll keep going to the washroom all the time, and it's very important for you to keep hydrated. Make sure you're taking a lot of water during this period because your body is very unstable at this point, so make sure you take a lot of water. Number 8, nausea and vomiting, and this is quite self-explanatory. Now let's go to number 9, which is darkening of the alveolar. That black patch around the nipple, it might start becoming a little bit darker when you become pregnant. This is not always the case. It happens in some people, and others it doesn't actually happen. So it might be something optional. It might happen, it might not happen. We have metallic taste in the mouth. This is mostly because of the hormones. Number 11, no, metallic taste was in number 10. So number 11, this is pain in the lower abdomen, and mostly this is due to the implantation. It might cause you to have those cramps and some very uncomfortable pains, but the pain is different from the one that you usually get before you get your menses, so it's slightly different. Number 12, which is very interesting, is lower back pain. Now, this pain will come because of the loosening of the ligaments and also the joints around your pelvic region to accommodate the potentially growing baby. Now, this baby will have to occupy some space. Your body will have to provide for that by loosening the ligaments and also the joints around your hip area. Now, what will eventually happen is the transfer of some of the weight to the muscles around that area. And because of this weight, you'll start feeling that pain because now they are bearing a lot of weight from the upper body and they are going to become strained, and that's why you're going to start feeling that pain. Number 13, which is also very interesting, is cravings. Now, cravings mostly usually happen because of deficiencies. Remember, this is the time when your body is having a high demand for almost everything. You have something growing, so that growth will demand something from your body, and that's why either you're going to have a deficiency or you're going to have a very high demand that will force you into trying to look for that same mineral or maybe the vitamin in non-food material. Now this is what will force you to eating that clay or some stones or maybe something that is non-food. This is your body trying to look for a certain mineral or a certain vitamin in non-food material. I actually encourage people, when you start getting these signs, it's very important for you to make sure that you have all the minerals and the vitamins you require in the body by eating balanced diet and also increasing the intake. In case you're not getting enough of that in food, make sure you get to tell your doctor to give you some supplements that will help in this, because it's very important. It helps in the growth of the fetus, especially their brains. They require a lot of things. Now, once you discover you're pregnant, there is something that's very important. There's several things that are very important for you to do before you even decide whether you're going to keep that pregnancy or not. Let's look at some of them. The first one is, this is actually supposed to be written somewhere so that you get to see that on a daily basis. This is, get to know your blood group and especially the rhesus factor. This is very important because this might affect your downstream of the pregnancy that will come later. It's very important for you to make sure that you know your rhesus, because in case you are rhesus negative and your partner is rhesus positive, you might start suffering from HDN, which is hemolytic disease of the newborn, whereby you are going to find, okay, actually I'm not going to go into the details of this. I've made several videos about this. So just go and look for a video on HDN. I think I've made several of them. So just go and look for that video. A lot of information is there. Another thing which is very important for you to know is your blood glucose. Very important, because we have people usually develop, I think this is due to demand, the high demand. Mostly they usually develop what we call gestational diabetes, and if it's left untreated, it might graduate to type 2 diabetes. So it's very important for you to make sure that you know your blood glucose every time you visit that hospital. Now, we have other tests like a HB. You can go specifically get that HB tested directly, or maybe have a test that we usually call full hemogram or complete blood count. I think it's very cheap, yeah. You can access that in almost every hospital. You can get that. Now, where I'm going to focus on is red blood cells and also the HGB or HB. In case you have less of the red blood cells, you need to start increasing the intake of ions and also vitamin B12 to increase the production of your red blood cells, because you're going to require a lot of that. We have other tests for infectious diseases like the STIs and UTIs. It's very important for you to make sure that you get tested, because you might transmit that to your kid during childbirth. And some like syphilis and gonorrhea and HSV, they are very, very bad when it comes to the newborn. They're going to affect them either mentally or even physically. They're going to have very detrimental effects on them. So it's very important for you to have those tests. This is a category. Your doctor will tell you the test that they're going to test on you, and they're very important to make sure that you don't have, especially VDRL. It's a test that we call VDRL, which usually tests for syphilis. Very important for you to make sure that you get that tested. The second thing I usually recommend is to make sure that you get enrolled for an ANC clinic or ANC profile. Number 3, which is very important, is to always make sure you consult your doctor before taking any drug. Some drugs might cross the placenta and they might have drastic effect when it comes to the developing brain. So it's very important for you to make sure that you get to know exactly what drugs to take when you're pregnant and the drugs you're not supposed to take. Number 4, which is also very important, make sure you increase your intake for the vitamins and also the minerals, because you have a high demand for them because of something that's developing in your body. We have vitamins, we have A, we have B12, okay, all the B complexes. We have C, D, and also E. For the minerals, make sure that you have calcium. It's very important for the development, especially for the bones. You have others like magnesium, we have zinc, we have, what do you call it? We have zinc, we have calcium, we have magnesium. Folic acid is also very important when it comes to prevention of neural tube defects that usually happen during the developmental stage. It's very important for you to take that as a precaution, because you never know. Some of these conditions usually happen during developmental, and if you can have an option where you can be able to prevent that, it's very important for you to take that option. We have other things like iron. If you can be able to get that in food, get that. If you cannot be able to achieve that in food, you can get that from your doctor as a supplement for you to just continue taking until you give birth. Number 5, also very important, cut out alcohol and any other recreational drugs. Some of them usually cross the placenta and they can go and affect the brains of the unborn. And also one of the most overlooked drug, which is caffeine. This is a mild CNS stimulant. You need to reduce the intake because the metabolism of caffeine usually gets slower when you become pregnant. So it's very important for you to just reduce that. It's also capable of crossing the placenta. So in case you take a lot of that, it's going to have some effects on the baby and especially their brains. If you're getting value from this channel, make sure you get subscribed. And also, don't leave the bell. Make sure you hit that bell for you to get notified every time I upload something interesting, because I have a lot loading. And I want to make sure that you get notified every time I upload something interesting as this. See you in the next video.